Welcome back to Red Hot Chile. Listener comments are directed to me, Dr. John Cobin, at chileadvisorygroup@gmail.com. Just make sure you put in the subject line that you've got a listener question or comment. I want to read a long comment now because it's good for an object lesson. This came in from Mr. David, and he starts out by, and I'm still having trouble finding my mouse pointer here. There it is. Okay. He starts out his letter saying, Dr. Corbin. Now, let me just make a comment about this. I don't know why it's so difficult for people to correctly read my name. It's not that it really bothers me. It makes me wonder about folks. I mean, how carefully do you read when my name is clearly Cobin? You hear me say it, you hear other people say it. I'm all over the internet. I've got plenty of libertarian publications in Chile and outside of Chile. And only people, for whatever reason, that go through Simon Black's newsletter, especially this fellow, seem to call me Dr. Cobin. Is it intentional? Is my one? I mean, do you want to just change my name? I mean, I have nothing against the name Corbin, but it's not my name. And so you really should call me by my real name, Dr. Cobin. I might take you more seriously off the start if you do that. Especially when I get long letters like this of people that are effectively looking for free consulting. Mr. David. He said, recently came across your site while revisiting Mr. Black's site. That would be Simon Black's. And although early in the process, thought it would be good to make the initial connection, as my wife and I have set a goal to understand the options available to us this year, with the plan to visit in 2015 and move things along by 2016, if not sooner, in advance. After 15 years as a sales and marketing professional in a variety of industry, I think he means industries, I realize although we've managed to stay afloat, we're falling further behind with 3 young children homeschooled ages 8 to 18 months. We'd like to find somewhere safe, quote unquote, and although a different country, locations that it may have other English speaking expats around so we don't feel entirely alone. We have started Rosetta Stone Spanish. That'll really do you a lot of good. I'm being facetious. It won't. You're not going to learn Spanish, sorry, by taking those little courses they have in the United States. It might help you a tiny little bit, but there are other things to do, like memorizing verb declensions, nouns, things like that, and just getting down here and taking some classes and getting immersed literally in the culture. Anyway, so Rosetta Stone Spanish, so we can at least have some understanding of the local language. Well, you're very optimistic. I can say the least, to say the least. At 43 and 33, my wife and I would like to find our own opportunity for employment and have interest in either a small bed and breakfast type resort, 6 to 8 units, with the opportunity to be open for dinner. We'd hire someone to do the fine dining dinner, something that would pamper our guests, spa, etc., or a small beach health bar, a specialty burger bar, with our spare time. We'd like also to give back to those in the area, whether it be through teaching English as a second language or starting some kind of charity service program. Sounds very libertarian, not very objectivistic, but that's good. I kind of like the idea of charity. Anyway, working with local mission groups or being a home base for missions coming to the area. I've also been considering trying to find something I can do at home, writing data entry. I type 85 words per minute, or possibly going back to school for nursing or some 2-year medical study. I wonder if you would do that here in Spanish. I wonder how Spanish is for studying nursing here. Anyway, since you are arriving in 2015, that's approximately 9 months away, or you did say it could be 2016. That would give you 21 months to finish the nursing school up in the United States, I guess. Although I've done well in sales, I'm pretty burnt out at this point. We haven't a clue as to where or how to get started. That's sort of evident by reading your letter. I don't mean to make fun, but your subject line says a young family considering options, early stages. I appreciate that. So you haven't a clue how to get started. Well, maybe I'll give you some helpful advice. And it seems like a huge undertaking, indeed. As firstborns, not typical of us to just jump out at doing something. So looking for some help from others who have been there and done that. Chile, Belize, Ecuador, Panama, and Costa Rica are on the short list. They shouldn't be, especially not Costa Rica and Ecuador. Panama is not a bad choice. Belize is only for the real hardy who like potholes and might speak the English language. I guess that's about the only other benefit. You don't need to work. But again, exactly where any of those countries, no idea that we're in any of those countries. We currently live in the country, so no real interest in city dwelling. Okay, well that might be a real disadvantage. But wouldn't mind being close to a city so we can catch the city activities, cultural diversity, soccer matches, shows, food, etc. Sounds like you want to have your cake and eat it too. We were able to sell this house. If we are able to sell the house, we'd have about 80,000 in equity. That's U.S. dollars, which again seems to go a lot further in other countries than where it would get us here in the States. Not too much further here, a bit perhaps. And with all the changes, unless you're out in Puerto Aguirre, read the blog entry on Puerto Aguirre. That might be a good place for you to go. You can buy it cheap down there and be really out there. The sooner we can do something, the better, I think. Thank you for your time and feedback. I hope to hear back from you, David, and I won't mention the last name, as I usually do not on the air. But let me just say this, David. Now, you thanked me for my time and feedback. A lot of folks write to me letters like this, and I read some of them. I really do. I like to be able to entertain things that listeners are doing. But I'm not really your guy just to come back and write a letter to and get lots of free feedback from. I know it'd be entertaining for you and fun, but I am a professional consultant. It's the only way I can keep the bar raised high enough as to not get flooded with this kind of stuff, phone calls and whatnot. And I would encourage you, David, to go to www.chile-consulting.cl and read about these services. Normally, if you want to set up an initial conversation with me to talk about all these many things you have, these ideas of bed and breakfast and which countries to go to on the short list, the pros and cons, and I have a lot of information to give you. But the initial fee is $995. Whether you live in the country or the city, or you're coming from the country or the city, it's the same price. However, last week and this week, in order to spur on consulting services, I've been willing to lower the fee, the initial bar, to just $100. And when you want to pay that $100, the easiest way to do it is to go to MoneyGram.com. Now, MoneyGram has lots of locations in the United States where you are and other places in the world. And you send that MoneyGram for $100 to John McCarewich Cobin, that's M-A-C-A-R-E-W-I-C-H, since Corbin was the other name. Also, make sure you have a Cobin, C-O-B-I-N, after the McCarewich. John is the first name. And I will pick up that, and when you give me the code to do that, and we'll have a conversation. I would love to talk with you an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours doing that. After that, my fee is very reasonable. It's $500 a day, and plus all expenses when you're actually here in Chile, and I will help you do what you need to do to get your business up and going. Now, as far as free advice and things that I do to help folks that don't want to pay for consulting services, I do that a lot, folks. I'm really not a greedy guy. I'm not a guy who is unwilling to be helpful and generous to other people. In fact, I have a special place in my heart for pastors and missionaries who are evangelicals who want to come down, especially if they're libertarians, and get established here. I will bend over backwards for them. But for the rank and file, the rest of you who are making money, whether you're going to nursing school or planning to do other things, and especially homeschool, I love that. That's a wonderful thing, and I did it myself. You got to come and say, look, the free stuff is online. It's there. You can look at the blog, and I have well over 400 entries on all sorts of topics. And you can go to AllAboutChile.com as well as EscapeAmericaNow.info. Both of those sites are full of information about Chile that you can profit from. And so go to those sites and read about stuff. In addition to that, you can listen to the radio show, which we're doing now, perhaps. Friday noon, the new radio segment comes out. The new weekly edition comes out. It's recorded and therefore can be downloaded starting every Monday morning from the Overseas Radio Network, overseasradio.com. And from there, you are able to go forward with some more advice, more information. If you have other questions, you can email those questions to me, and I'll answer many of them on the air, much like I'm doing now. I'm making this long commentary. So that's your free stuff. And then if you want to go a little bit further than that, get my 2 books, which are also available at EscapeAmericaNow.info. The books are $88 together. One is Life in Chile, a former American's guide for newcomers, and the other is Expatriates to Chile, Topics for Living. I strongly suggest that you do get those books. It's a small investment. The $88 and the 800 pages it contains will be a wealth of information to help you understand what life in Chile is going to be like. There's all sorts of new things that I update the blog with. Little details, like recently, how do you ride the metros and buses? How do you get something notarized in English? I mentioned these in last week's show, for instance. so you can keep your knowledge current. But those are things you should do first. And then after you've done that, if you still want to do consulting with me to do these other things you're talking about, well, you should take advantage of it this week while it's cheap, because otherwise the price will be going back up to the normal rate, the $995 for the initial consultation. Glad to do it for you. I'm glad that people are still calling in and want to do consulting services, and I can really help you. I do know more about this country, and certainly as being a former American before I renounced that great citizenship up there, became and was a full-fledged Chilean citizen. I did know a lot about the culture there, spent a lot of years in the United States, and I understand what you need and what you're going through. I can help you get established here in the country. We can make you very successful here. But it is a professional service I offer, and so please understand that if you want my services, they're available, but you need to pay for them. That's part of the way it works. We also have residency services, and the residency services have been very successful in helping people get established here with the visas for permanent and temporary residency. You are listening to Red Hot Chili. This is Dr. John Cobin on the Overseas Radio Network, and we